Is home just another room in the simulation?
Greetings and welcome to Awareness with Vanessa. Last week, we explored the architecture of attention, how our focus can be captured, redirected, and even used to reinforce the reality we're experiencing. But that conversation left us with a much bigger question. If we stop feeding the noise, what remains? Throughout this series, we've questioned the systems that influence what we believe, what we notice, and even how we interpret our experience. But what if those same systems have also influenced something far more fundamental, where we were taught to look for home? In the human experience universe, particularly level 8, I explore the idea of a false heaven, the possibility that what appears to be the final destination could simply be another layer of the architecture. And that raises a question I absolutely love. What if the thing you were taught to recognize as home was simply another room? This week, we're exploring why I believe we must first identify home within before we can reliably recognize home external. Not because home only exists within us. That's not the proposition. The idea is that home within becomes the compass, the internal point of recognition that may allow us to distinguish the authentic destination from another room that simply looks the way we were taught home should look. So today, I want you to consider who taught you what home is supposed to look like? And if home appeared differently from everything you had been taught to expect, would you recognize it? I'm Vanessa Klinger, and this is Awareness with Vanessa. Vincent and Natalia are here to take this conversation deeper. Vincent, Natalia, the conversation is yours.
Whether you are returning to continue this journey with us or, maybe you're stepping in for the very first time today, we're incredibly glad you're here. We are currently in our series, The Secret Architecture of the Simulation.
Right. And today is week 12, which is a deep dive titled Home is Real.
Yeah, home is real. And I want to start by just sort of imagining something. Imagine waking up in like a perfect paradise.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right, like every lost loved one is just standing there waiting for you. Every chronic pain you've ever had in your body is just
Yeah,
gone.
completely gone.
Exactly.
Right.
The sky is, I don't know, the exact shade of gold you always imagined it would be.
Yeah.
It basically matches every single brochure of heaven you were ever handed throughout your entire life.
That sounds amazing, honestly.
Right, but what if that paradise isn't actually freedom? Like, what if it's just a heavily engineered layer of the simulation designed to be the ultimate inescapable prison?
Yeah, that is a terrifying thought.
It really is. And today, we're looking at what happens when the noise of the world finally stops. But to ground us, we kind of need to quickly look back at where we just were.
Right, in week 11.
Yeah, week 11. Last week, we completely dismantled this idea of the architecture of attention. We explored how our focus isn't just a passive camera lens recording the world.
No, it's an active energy currency.
Exactly. Our attention is just constantly captured by external algorithms, the endless 24-hour news cycle, the outrage machine, and, our own internal loops.
Right, like our inherited fears and all that rumination.
Yeah, exactly.
And we established that attention is where you are actively investing your life force.
Yeah.
Every single notification you click, every anxious thought you feed, it's demanding your active participation.
It really is.
The systems we live in profit immensely from keeping you in this constant, just unbroken state of reaction. It's an architecture that's meticulously designed to keep you looking outward, locked onto the immediate chaotic noise.
Yeah. And so if our attention is completely tapped out by all these external algorithms, I've just been trying to picture what actually happens when we force a system reboot.
Right, like when you just shut it down.
Yeah. If attention is like being stuck in this incredibly crowded, chaotic restaurant where every screen, every loud conversation, and every anxious thought is just shouting your name, what actually happens when you step out into the quiet alley?
You mean when the noise becomes quiet?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I expect to feel peace, but what I usually feel is a massive, uncomfortable void.
Yeah, and that void is actually the ultimate pivot point of this entire series.
Yeah.
Because when you stop automatically feeding every single signal, when you stop participating in that endless loop of reaction and simply begin observing, you hit that silence.
You really do. It's jarring.
It is. And in that quiet space, humanity inevitably confronts the concept of home. But our immediate, almost biological reflex when we hit that silence isn't to sit with it or, to look inward.
Right. We don't like the silence.
No, we don't. Our first instinct is always, without fail, to search externally for a destination to replace the noise. We just scramble to fill the void.
We really do. We want a map. We want an authority figure to point a finger and say, go there, that's where you belong, that's your destination.
Exactly. Give me the coordinates.
Right. Because we are so heavily conditioned to interact with external stimuli, we automatically assume that home, that ultimate place of peace or belonging or truth, it must be an external location that we just haven't managed to find yet.
Yeah, throughout all of human history, across virtually every culture, we have searched for home outside of ourselves.
Absolutely.
We call it heaven or paradise, source, the afterlife. Humanity possesses this deep, collective, undeniable longing for a return to something better.
Yeah, a return.
Right. But we rarely pause to ask a very uncomfortable question.
Which is?
Who actually taught us what home is supposed to look like?
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because who did teach us? We inherit the picture, we get it from our family, our religion, our culture.
Yeah, tradition.
Tradition, exactly. We get it from media, books, and art. We are handed this pre-printed brochure of the afterlife or spiritual fulfillment.
We really are.
Just
That glossy brochure.
Yeah. And I want to be super clear here. We are absolutely not ridiculing or dismissing those traditions. Many of them contain profound wisdom and beauty.
Oh, absolutely. They're incredibly culturally rich.
Right. But we have to look at the vulnerability of an unexamined inheritance. Have we ever actually consciously examined this picture, or did we just take the brochure and put it in our pocket?
Well, if your entire expectation of heaven or of home is just a brochure that someone else printed and handed to you, you are setting yourself up for a massive philosophical trap.
A huge trap.
Because most of us do not begin our lives by independently investigating the fundamental nature of existence. We don't chart the territory.
We just memorize the landmarks from someone else's trip.
Exactly. We learn the symbols of peace rather than the actual substance of it.
Wow, yeah. If I only know home based on an inherited description, say, I don't know, pearly gates, a specific feeling of relief, a certain type of ethereal light.
Right, or a specific authority figure standing there to welcome you.
Yeah, exactly. If that's all I have, I am entirely reliant on those external appearances. I am blindly trusting that whatever matches the brochure is the true destination.
And that is exactly where the danger lies.
So here's where it gets really interesting. In the source material we are diving into today, Vanessa Klinger introduces a concept in her book, The Human Experience Universe, and it addresses this exact vulnerability.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating concept.
It really is. It's a fictional framework, a philosophical thought experiment, but man, its implications are staggering. She calls it Level 8.
Level 8.
In her narrative architecture, Level 8 is the final corruption of the simulation. It is a counterfeit reality.
Right, a false heaven.
Exactly. And what makes it so terrifying to me is that it is not a dystopian prison of suffering or pain or grueling labor. It is engineered to look exactly like heaven.
It is essentially a gilded cage. And to understand how insidious this is, we have to look at the mechanics of how Level 8 operates in her thought experiment.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Well, it doesn't just passively look beautiful. It actively scans your consciousness for your expected emotional output.
Wait, really? It scans you?
Yeah, it reads your inherited brochure. So if you expect a specific sensation of a reunited loved one, Level 8 artificially generates and feeds that exact neurochemical or spiritual resonance right back to you.
Oh, man. That is wild.
If you expect the feeling of a healed wound, it simulates that relief flawlessly and matches every single inherited symbol of paradise you were ever taught.
So it traps you with total fulfillment.
Exactly.
Its greatest deception is not pain. Its greatest deception is convincing consciousness that there is absolutely nothing left to question. It imprisons you through contentment.
Yes. It creates a world where expectation is the only test of reality. And if a destination looks peaceful, beautiful, and transcendent, and it perfectly matches every religious or cultural symbol you were taught to expect, does appearance alone prove that it is home?
I mean, no, right? Not if it can be faked.
Right. If you rely solely on familiar appearances or on someone in authority standing at the gate telling you you have arrived, then you have completely surrendered your discernment.
You really have, because what if the thing you were taught to recognize as home was simply another room? What if it's just another layer of the simulation, another part of the architecture designed to keep you contained, just, I don't know, with nicer wallpaper?
That's your wallpaper, exactly.
Because as we learned last week with the attention loop, expectations are incredibly easy to condition. If you don't have a way to test the reality beyond its appearance, you are completely vulnerable to a system that can flawlessly mimic your deepest desires.
And this brings us to the central proposition of this deep dive, which is really entirely a matter of sequencing.
Sequencing.
Right. The argument is that home within must be established before home external can be reliably identified.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Let's clarify this, because I want to make sure we aren't saying that home isn't a real place, or that it's all just in our heads.
Right. Definitely not.
We are not concluding that home exists only within the individual. This isn't some exercise in solipsism where we tell people to retreat into their own minds, ignore the universe, and just think happy thoughts.
No, not at all. The internal anchoring doesn't negate the external reality. You can think of it like a navigational tool. Home within is a compass, and home external is the North Pole.
Oh, I love that analogy. The compass isn't the North Pole itself. Holding a compass in your hand doesn't mean you've arrived at the destination.
Exactly.
But without that compass, you have absolutely no idea if you are actually walking toward the true North Pole, or if you've just stumbled into some fake engineered winter wonderland that someone built to look exactly like it.
Right. You'd just be wandering blind. And the required sequence we are looking at operates in 4 steps.
Okay, what are they?
First, you establish home within. That internal anchoring creates the capacity for recognition. Recognition then allows for discernment. And discernment is what finally allows you to identify home external.
So home within, recognition, discernment, home external.
Exactly. The inward journey doesn't replace the external destination. It is the necessary tool that prepares you to actually recognize it.
That makes so much sense. Think about how often we navigate our daily lives using landmarks instead of a true internal compass.
Oh, constantly.
We say, I'll know I'm successful when I get this specific promotion, or I'll know I'm spiritually enlightened when I feel this specific type of unbroken peace. We are constantly navigating by external signs.
And if those external signs can be counterfeited, like in the level 8 thought experiment, you will be fooled by another layer of the simulation.
You just walk right into the trap.
Right. You will settle into a counterfeit reality because you didn't have an internal mechanism to verify its authenticity. You just check the boxes on your inherited brochure.
So then the million-dollar question is, how do we actually build this compass? What is home within? Because it's really easy to say just look inside. But usually when people do that, they just find more of the noise we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it gets loud in there.
It does. They find their grocery lists, their anxieties, their identity as a parent or an employee, their unresolved trauma. We've established that home within isn't just relaxation or putting on a forced happy face.
No, it's not. Home within is the observer.
The observer.
Right. It is that core part of you that we've touched on in earlier deep dives. It is the part of you that is aware of your roles, your beliefs, your fears, and your memories without actually identifying as them.
Right.
The source text talks heavily about identity attachment. This is the process where the body became me, the mind became me, the emotional loops became me.
To put that in daily terms, identity attachment is when I get cut off in traffic and I think I am the anger.
Exactly. Or you lose your job and you think I am a failure.
Yeah. My core identity gets super glued to a temporary passing state.
Right. And when all of those layers of the human experience become quiet, the observer is what remains. Is the pure consciousness that is aware of the experience rather than the experience itself.
It's the part of me that notices I am feeling fear, which inherently means I cannot be the fear itself. I am the space in which the fear is happening.
Beautifully put. Yes.
But this makes me think, how do we distinguish between true recognition from the observer and mere societal conditioning?
Well, this raises an important question because conditioning is incredibly powerful and it can easily masquerade as intuition.
It really can.
If you've been told your whole life that a certain feeling means you are on the right path, you might feel that feeling and think, aha, my compass is working, when really it's just your programming executing perfectly.
Yeah, you're just following the brochure again.
Exactly. Conditioning says, this is what home should look like. This matches the brochure. This feels familiar to my ego. It relies on comparing an external image to a memorized checklist.
Okay, so what does recognition do?
Recognition asks, what within me recognizes home? Recognition is a frequency match. It bypasses the analytical comparative mind entirely. It's the difference between knowing a fact because you read it in a textbook and knowing a truth because you have lived it in your bones.
Okay, wait, I'm listening to this and a massive red flag is going up for me.
Wow. What is it?
If we are saying find home within and retreat to the observer, aren't we just preaching escapism?
Ah, I see what you mean.
Right, like this sounds dangerously close to telling people to just sit on a mountain, detach from their families, and ignore the actual human experience because the pain of living is too much to bear. I mean, sometimes the spiritual search for home can just mask a desperate psychological desire to check out of reality.
That is such a valid point, but the text is actually very careful to draw a hard line here.
Huh.
There is a profound difference between the desperate desire to escape and the genuine recognition of home.
Okay, how so?
Escaping is reactive. It is driven entirely by an aversion to the human experience. It's the urge to run away from grief, frustration, loneliness, or just the exhausting pressure of survival.
Right, getting away from the bad stuff.
Exactly. But recognizing home is not about running away. The goal isn't to reject the simulation or to abandon the avatar you are playing.
So you are still fully in the game.
Very much so. Conscious participation in life matters. Experiencing joy, building relationships, engaging in creation, even feeling pain, all of that still matters deeply.
You're just not forgetting that you have a life outside the game. You aren't losing yourself entirely in the character.
Right. And that conscious participation brings up something incredibly poignant in the source material, which is the paradox of return.
The paradox of return. I love this part.
Human beings so often feel a profound homesickness for a place they have never consciously been.
It's a universal phenomenon, isn't it? So many cultures and individuals describe this aching sense of missing a home they can't even picture.
Yeah, the text notes people saying things like, I feel like I've forgotten someone important, or I woke up crying and I don't know why.
We are uniquely burdened with this longing. But if we follow the logic, how can you return to a source or to a home if absolutely nothing within you recognizes it?
You can't.
Right. The very fact that you feel homesick implies that some part of you, the observer, the core consciousness, already knows exactly what home feels like.
Exactly. You cannot be homesick for a place you have never belonged to. The paradox is that the longing itself is evidence of the origin.
It proves that the compass is inside you.
Yes, even if the needle has been spinning wildly because of all the magnetic interference of the modern world, the source texts actually refer to these moments of clarity as release codes.
Release codes. So how do release codes actually work? What is the mechanism there?
Think of a release code like a tuning fork.
Okay.
When you strike a tuning fork in a room, any other object in that room tuned to the exact same frequency will spontaneously begin to vibrate. Right. Release codes are fragments, or patterns, or sudden realizations in our daily lives that strike that frequency. They crack the conditioning and remind the soul of its true nature.
What kind of things can be a release code?
It could be anything, really. A piece of music, a moment of profound stillness, or a sudden, unexplained wave of emotion. When you feel that unexplainable homesickness, that is a release code activating. It is your consciousness matching a frequency, trying to cohere.
So this deep dive really represents a massive shift in how we navigate our lives. The fundamental question is no longer, where is home? We stop looking for the map. We stop asking external authorities to point the way and validate our journey.
Exactly. We drop the brochure.
We drop the brochure. Instead, the question becomes, what within me recognizes home?
And once you make that fundamental shift, you can approach the entire external world through the lens of recognition rather than expectation.
Which changes everything.
It does. You are no longer vulnerable to counterfeit realities, whether that's a toxic relationship pretending to be love, a career pretending to be purpose, or a philosophical level 8 pretending to be heaven.
You don't have to fear being deceived by appearances because your discernment is anchored in a frequency that cannot be counterfeited. You are navigating by true north, not by the scenery.
Navigating by true north, not the scenery. I love that.
It really takes all the pressure off trying to decode the external world and puts the power entirely back into your own awareness.
It's incredibly empowering.
It is. And before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that really builds on everything we've unpacked.
Let's hear it.
We usually treat homesickness, that existential longing, that ache for a place we can't quite picture, we treat it as a negative symptom.
Yeah, something to be fixed.
Right. We treat it like a pain that needs to be cured, or a void that needs to be filled, or an uncomfortable urge we need to escape through distraction. But what if that deep, unexplainable homesickness for a place you've never consciously been isn't a symptom of being lost?
Oh, that's interesting.
What if it is the actual frequency of your internal compass, actively working, humming in the background, trying its hardest to point you in the right direction?
Wow. That changes everything about how we experience longing.
Hmm.
It's not a wound, it's a signal.
It's not a lack of something, it's the presence of a memory.
That's beautiful.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture today.
We truly appreciate you taking the time to explore these ideas with us. Remember to trust your own compass.
Question everything. Observe more.